Right now, while you're watching this, the person who broke you down piece by piece is sitting somewhere trying to remember which version of the truth they told you. You've replayed it 100 times, the apology that never came, the way they twisted every fight until you were the one saying sorry. You've waited for the moment life finally hands them the bill. You check in sometimes quietly through a mutual friend or a scroll through their profile, and it looks like nothing touched them. New relationship, new job, same confident smile that used to make your stomach drop. And you think, how does someone do that much damage and just walk away untouched? Here's what almost nobody tells you about people like this: the manipulators, the narcissists, the ones who feed off your empathy like it's fuel. They didn't walk away untouched. They walked away carrying something you can't see yet, but they can feel every single night. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what that is, why it never goes away for them, and why the smallest thing you do next determines whether you stay their victim or become the one thing they can never recover from. Empaths get this wrong constantly. You assume karma has to look like something: a public exposure, a dramatic fall, money disappearing, friends turning their backs, a headline with their name in it. You keep waiting for the movie ending because you were raised on movie endings, but real consequence, the kind that actually breaks a person down to the studs, doesn't happen on a stage. It happens in a bedroom at 11 at night when the phone finally goes quiet and there's no one left to perform for. That is where it's happening to them right now, not later, now. To understand why, you have to understand what you actually were to them. You weren't a partner. You weren't a friend in the normal sense. You were a power source. Every narcissist runs on something psychologists call external validation. But let's translate that into something you can actually feel. They need other people's attention and admiration the way your body needs oxygen, not want, need. Without it, the version of themselves they've built collapses. So they attach to people like you, empaths, because you're generous with your attention, forgiving with your patience, and endlessly willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. You were never chosen because you were weak. You were chosen because you were rich in exactly the currency they were bankrupt in. Here's the part they'll never tell you, and the part their new partner hasn't figured out yet either. That fake, confident version of them you saw, the one who never seemed to feel guilty, never seemed to doubt themselves. That's not who they are. That's a costume, and costumes need someone else to keep sewing them back together every single day. Underneath it is a person who, somewhere back in childhood, decided their real self wasn't safe to show anyone. Maybe they were shamed for showing weakness. Maybe they were only praised when they performed. So they built a second self, a shinier one, and buried the real one so deep they can barely find it anymore. Now hold on to that, because we're going to come back to it. First, you need to see the actual mechanics of what's happening to them right now, because this is where their punishment lives, and it's already fully installed. Think of their confidence like an inflatable house. From the outside, it looks solid: walls, a roof, a front door. But it's only standing because there's a machine somewhere pumping air into it around the clock. That machine is other people's attention. The moment that pump slows down even a little, the walls start to sag. And here's what nobody wants to admit: that pump was never meant to run forever. It was built for short bursts, not decades, which means every single year they spend maintaining that performance. The cost of running, it goes up while their ability to pay that cost goes down. That's the first crack in the case for their downfall. And it's a mathematical one, not an emotional one. As they get older, two things happen at exactly the same time. First, their supply shrinks. The charm that worked at 25 starts looking desperate at 40. New people are harder to find because word travels, reputations catch up, and the people who see through them the fastest are the ones who've already been burned once before by someone just like them. Second, and this is the part that actually eats them alive, the debt they're carrying compounds. Every lie a person tells requires their brain to store two separate files: what actually happened and the story they invented to cover it. Do that for one relationship and it's manageable. Do it across every friendship, every job, every partner for 20 years, and their own mind becomes a maze even they can't navigate anymore. You want to know what karma actually looks like for someone like this? It looks like lying awake trying to remember which lie they told which person and realizing they can't keep the map straight anymore. Let's pause here because you might be thinking, that sounds like a nice story, but where's the proof? Fair. Here's the proof, and it's something you can actually watch for with your own eyes if you're ever forced back into their orbit. Watch the timing between their words and their face. When a person feels something real, sadness, embarrassment, even a flicker of guilt, their face reacts either right before they speak or exactly as they speak. It's instant because it's not manufactured, it's just happening to them. But someone running on a performance has to consciously decide what expression belongs in that moment, and deciding takes time. So you'll see a strange half-second delay. The words come out first, and then just a beat too late, the face catches up. It looks almost right. It's just never quite in sync. Once you notice that lag, you cannot unsee it in them or in anyone else running the same act. That's warning sign number one. Store it, because there are two more, and the third one is the one that actually tells you the whole structure has already started coming down. Let's go back to that childhood self we buried a minute ago, because this is where the real weight of their sentence gets handed down, and it has nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with math. Every healthy person operates on trust as a default setting. Someone's kind to you, your body relaxes, your nervous system marks the moment safe. That's how humans are built to rest. A person who has spent their whole life manipulating others cannot access that setting anymore because their brain assumes everyone else is playing the same game they are. So when someone shows them genuine kindness, their mind doesn't relax. It gets suspicious. What do they want from me? What's the angle? How do I get ahead of this before they use it against me? Kindness, the thing that's supposed to feel like relief, gets processed by their brain as a threat. Now picture living every single day like that. Every text that comes in late, every friend who doesn't laugh hard enough at their joke, every partner who finally calmly asks them to be accountable for something. All of it reads to them as an attack. Their body is permanently stuck in high alert, flooding itself with stress chemicals meant for short emergencies, not for a lifetime. That is not a metaphor. That is what's physically happening inside them every day while you're out here healing, sleeping fine, building something real. Here's your second before and after. Before you understood any of this, you thought their calm exterior meant they'd won and you'd lost. After understanding this, you realize the person who looked untouchable was actually the only one in the relationship who was never allowed to rest. You slept, they couldn't. You healed, they can't, not without tearing down the entire structure they've spent their life building, and they will never willingly do that. There's a specific kind of prison this creates for them, and once you see it, you'll never envy their life again, even for a second. It's the isolation trap, and it's completely self-inflicted. To let someone truly love them, they'd have to drop the mask and show the real version underneath it, the one they decided decades ago was too shameful to let anyone see. But dropping the mask feels like death to them. So instead of building closeness, they build control. Gaslighting to keep you doubting your own memory, putting other people in triangles against each other so no one ever feels secure enough to challenge them. Small, constant betrayals that keep everyone one step off balance. Every single one of those tactics buys them a moment of control, but it costs them the one thing every relationship actually runs on: trust. And here's the trap closing. The healthiest, most self-aware people, exactly the kind of people they need most to feel truly loved instead of just admired, are also the fastest to recognize the pattern and walk away. So who's left in their life? People who haven't figured it out yet, or people whose self-worth is low enough to tolerate being treated like this long-term? That's the entire dating pool they're left choosing from as the years go by. Meanwhile, you, the one who left, you're out here becoming exactly the kind of person they'll never be able to keep. That's not a coincidence. That's the direct result of you refusing to keep feeding a system that was designed to drain you dry. Now here's the second warning sign, the one that shows up right when their control starts slipping in real time. Watch their eyes the next time they're confronted with something they can't spin. A person who's still confidently performing holds sharp, deliberate eye contact, the kind meant to intimidate or charm you back into line. But when the performance is failing faster than they can patch it, you'll see something different. A flat, sudden emptiness behind the eyes, like the lights went out for a second, paired with a jaw that locks and stiffens. That's not calculation. That's the mask slipping off entirely for a moment. And what's underneath isn't confidence, it's panic. You're 2/3 of the way to understanding exactly why their downfall doesn't need your help. And there's one more piece that ties it all together, the piece that explains why walking away from them was the single most damaging thing you ever did to them, even though it felt like the opposite at the time. They need an audience to exist, not want need. The same way we said earlier, every relationship they build gets treated as a resource, something to extract validation, admiration, or emotional supply from until it runs dry, and then they move to the next one. That worked when the well never seemed to run out. But wells run out. Every person they've burned tells their story to someone eventually. Every reputation catches up. Every new target takes a little longer to find and a little more effort to convince. What you're watching, if you ever check their profile again, isn't proof they've moved on unscathed. You're watching someone running faster and faster on a treadmill that's getting steeper every single year because the supply is shrinking exactly as fast as their need for it is growing. Here's the third and final warning sign, and it's the one that shows up the moment the whole system starts to genuinely fail. Listen to how they talk when their usual charm stops working on someone. The smooth performance breaks down into something repetitive, defensive, almost robotic, the exact same phrases over and over like a script that stopped working, but they haven't written a new one yet. Their voice gets tight, breath shallow, because the part of their brain that used to effortlessly run the performance is now straining just to hold the current lie together, let alone build the next one. When you hear that, you're not hearing confidence failing by accident. You're hearing the entire architecture buckling under its own weight live in real time. So let's bring this all the way home because there's one before and after left. And it's the one that actually matters for your life, not theirs. Before you understood any of this, you thought healing meant waiting for them to suffer the way you suffered. After understanding this, you realized suffering was never something you needed to arrange. It was already built into the foundation the moment they chose deception as a survival strategy over honesty. You don't need to check their profile anymore. You don't need updates from mutual friends. Every minute you spend tracking their life is a minute you're accidentally handing them the one resource they can't survive without, your attention. And the most devastating thing you will ever do to someone like this isn't confrontation, it's indifference. Real, complete, uninterested indifference, because indifference doesn't feed the pump, it starves it. You are not the person who got fooled. You were never the naive one, the weak one, the one who should have seen it coming. You were the person generous enough to give someone the benefit of the doubt they never deserved, and perceptive enough to eventually see exactly what they were. That's not a flaw in you. That's the exact empath wiring that makes you capable of a kind of connection they will never ever experience, because real connection requires a real self to offer, and they buried theirs so long ago they may never find it again. They are not thriving on the other side of that smile. They are running a machine that's breaking down faster every year, surrounded by people who either haven't seen through them yet or have stopped caring enough to leave. You, on the other hand, get to walk forward into relationships where you don't have to perform, where kindness is met with kindness instead of suspicion, where rest is actually possible. That is not something you have to fight for against them. That is simply what happens automatically the second you stop giving your energy to something that was designed to consume it. Their ending was written the day they chose the mask over the truth. Yours is still being written, and this time you're the one holding the pen. But there's one more layer to how deep this pattern goes, one that most people never see coming until it's already reshaping their next relationship without them even realizing it. And that's exactly where we're headed next.